The Elder Scrolls, one of the most well-known and well-loved RPGs of our time, recently releasing the 5th game in their series. 5 different characters across 5 different adventures. But what happened to these characters? Our avatars to interact with Tamriel, the people we played as while we saved the world from multiple threats. What happened to these characters after the adventure was over? Well, sit tight and I'll shed some light on it. Warning, this video will contain main questline related spoilers for every Elder Scrolls game apart from Skyrim, but will contain a minor Skyrim spoiler regarding one of the Daedra Shrines. 1994, The Elder Scrolls Arena hit shelves, making it the first game in the series, and unlike its successors, is set in the entire of Tamriel, as opposed to 1 or 2 provinces within it. Set in the Third Era, 389, the game opens with the player taking the role of Talon, captain of the Imperial Guard. And through the betrayal of an Imperial battle mage by the name of Jagathon, Talon is sent on a suicide mission to a dungeon. Fortunately, Jagathon's apprentice managed to warn him and was able to send him on a mighty quest to gather 8 pieces of a staff required to stop Jagathon and save Emperor Uriel Septim. Yes, that Emperor Uriel Septim. 10 years later, Talon completes his quest and Captain Picard rewards him with the title of Eternal Champion. Fast forward to Daggerfall and Picard's at it again, this time sending a different player character to the Breton homeland. And this is where things get interesting. Daggerfall had 6 endings, one of which the player character is killed and his killer goes crazy and is then killed himself by the Imperial forces. I'm not going to go into details of each ending, but the interesting part is that when writing the sequel, Morrowind, Bethesda had to be careful in deciding which ending was canon, and what they did was actually really clever. To achieve any ending in Daggerfall, the player character has to travel to Aetherius, a spirit realm. It is revealed in Morrowind that due to the fact that one of the very gods of Akatosh is the dead god of time, the ending of Daggerfall caused a disruption in the space-time continuum, causing all 6 endings to happen at once. And no matter what, the player character is killed in the end, and it appears he's not that widely known as a hero, as to my knowledge he's never mentioned again by name or title. Third Era, 427. The man who became known as Neverine was imprisoned, and it is him who the player assumes control of. Under the secret guidance of one Uriel Septim, the player is sent on a destined quest to defeat Lord Dagoth, essentially saving Tamriel once again. Through this particular adventure, the player grows more powerful than ever before, finishing the game with artifacts of seemingly endless power and growing to a point where one can hardly even be called mortal anymore, despite very much being so. During the events of Oblivion, you can often overhear that Neverine has left on an expedition to the faraway land of Akavir and has not been heard from since. And given how powerful and seemingly unstoppable the Neverine became at the end of Morrowind, it is totally reasonable to assume that during the events of Oblivion and even the events of Skyrim, the Neverine is still alive and well. Oblivion's protagonist begins his life as a prisoner, who is freed in a chance encounter with her old friend Uriel Septim, albeit getting on in years. In fact, during the events of Oblivion, he was 87 years old. In said opening events, Uriel's life was cut short by an assassin, catapulting the player into the biggest story yet, becoming the champion of Cyrodiil, which is the highest rank to get in the Order of the Dragon. Don't ask, we don't have time. It is also speculated that the Eternal Champion was also awarded the Champion of Cyrodiil rank. The Champion, after the events of Oblivion, travelled around Cyrodiil, and that would have been the end of his story were it not for the Shivering Isles expansion pack that came out, in which the Champion travels to the realm of Sheogorath, the Daedra Prince of Madness. Throughout the events of the Shivering Isles, the Champion takes the Mad God's place as ruler of the Shivering Isles, adopting the name Sheogorath and making him the first mortal ever to rule a plane of Oblivion himself. And now we're on to the biggest and most interesting end to a player character's story ever. During the Sheogorath side quest in Skyrim, the Dragonborn encounters Sheogorath himself. His appearance has changed quite drastically since Oblivion in suspicious ways. During the Shivering Isles expansion pack, Sheogorath says to the player, "I can see it in your face, mostly in your eyes. I may take those from you when all of this is over." When you encounter Sheogorath in Skyrim, however, he is depicted as blind. And despite having a big white beard in Oblivion, he is clean shaven in Skyrim, beards being one of the few things you couldn't customize on your character in Oblivion. These facts, along with Sheogorath casually mentioning that he was at the Oblivion Crisis, suggest that the Sheogorath the player encounters in Skyrim is in fact the champion of Cyrodiil from Oblivion. And that about wraps it up. I for one can't wait to find out what became of my Dragonborn in the next Elder Scrolls game. Anyway, join me next time and feel free to suggest topic titles in the comments. Thanks for watching, I'm Jack and this was Game Talk.